This world had a bizarre rule. Any child born with the number 0 would be ruthlessly abandoned. But children born from 2 zeros were worshipped like gods. One day a woman gave birth to a baby boy. Unfortunately, this child bore the mark of 0. From that moment on, his fate was sealed. As the boy grew up, he was constantly mocked by his classmates. The teacher would say that students with numbers higher than 0 could freely socialize, but they must never associate with a 0. As soon as the teacher said this, the classmates started mocking 0 again. He felt utterly dejected. Then a classmate deliberately caused trouble. When the teacher found out, all the students pointed fingers at 0. Even though the teacher knew he wasn't the culprit, she still punished him. Poor 0 lay slumped over his desk, staring out the window. How desperately he wanted to play happily with the other children. He would often daydream that his classmates actually liked him and invited him to jump rope. But when he snapped back to reality, he found himself hanging upside down from a tree. A passing janitor just glanced at him and walked away. Even the eagle perched in the tree seemed to mock him. One day 0 was walking down the street when he encountered a 0 beggar. As one of his own kind, he felt sorry for the beggar. He went into a store to buy food for the beggar but was thrown out by the shopkeeper. With no other option, 0 could only give the beggar some money. That night he sat alone in a dark corner. Suddenly a piercing scream rang out. He went to investigate and found someone bullying a 0 girl. 0 was accidentally spotted too. 3 people surrounded him, beating him with punches and kicks. While being beaten, he seemed to see an angel. Then the girl dragged the injured 0 to safety and carefully bandaged his wounds. From then on, they became close friends. They would admire beautiful scenery together. When hungry, they'd scavenge whatever they could find from trash cans. One day they secretly snuck onto the playground. Watching the happy couples in the distance, the boy couldn't resist picking flowers to confess his love to the girl. Soon they got married, and spent one blissful night together. However, happy times are always fleeting. The villagers discovered their secret. The girl was beaten to the ground. The boy was thrown into prison. In his dark cell, the boy longed for the girl day and night. Then a rose came floating through the window. The boy knew it was from the girl. He quickly looked outside. Sure enough, the girl stood in the distance watching him, lifting her shirt to reveal her swollen belly. She was already pregnant. The boy was overjoyed. But the next second the villagers spotted them. They cursed the girl and drove her to desperation. The girl was so terrified that it triggered her labor. Fortunately, a kind doctor helped deliver the baby. However, the villagers were instantly stunned when they saw the child. The next moment they bowed down and worshipped the child. Then they left. The boy thought the girl had been killed and was heartbroken. Then the prison door swung open. The girl walked in carrying the child. It turned out that a child born from 0 and 0 was actually infinity. They were divine beings. Thus the child saved their lives and abolished the village's ridiculous rule. The family of 4 lived happily ever after.